So, okay, I want to say welcome to everybody to the GMG web session today. We are talking about the ColorServer 5 this afternoon, and I will show you a couple of things or stuff in the new ColorServer 5 version we released last week. At first I will give you a short overview about the agenda for the next roundabout 60 minutes. I will go to a presentation for all those guys who don't have seen the ColorServer 4 or the ColorServer itself before. And afterwards, after this presentation, I will show you a short live demo in ColorServer 5, so everybody gets an idea and a view about the new architecture of ColorServer and the new administration of ColorServer 5. Okay, let's start. To introduce myself, I'm Clemens Graf. I'm your trainer in the next couple of minutes, and I'm one of the guys in the professional service. I'm at GMG since around about 1 year, and before I worked for GMG, I was working for a couple of companies, and one big German media production company as a workflow manager, as a production and technical support. So yes, before I joined GMG, I get in touch with GMG products, and yes, I collect a bit of experience about all the products we have at GMG. So, but let's start with the ColorServer session. What is ColorServer? ColorServer is gives you the chance to prepare all your files you have. You are able to convert or re-separate all your images, all your stuff, all your PDFs you get from a range of sources of ICC or profile sources into a range of other applications or other standards. What is ColorServer? We would like to do a consistent color result in the blink of an eye. So the ColorServer is able to convert all your images, your RGB, your CMYK, your spot color images into CMYK in a matter of seconds, in a couple of seconds. And also you're able to normalize your PDF. You are able to standardize mixed color documents. So today we are talking about PDF X4, for example, and then in X4 you are able to have some RGB elements or CMYK elements, and you have to normalize these PDF before you go into a printing plant. And yes, with the ColorServer you are able to normalize all these PDFs into a standard color profile, for example, and you're able to re-separate PDFs, for example. So if you don't know where your source is, so for example, you got a PDF which could be in ISO-coded, but you are not, it's not very clear because you have no output intent or some other information. Is it really in ISO-coded? You are able to re-separate this PDF or this image, and afterwards you get a complete ISO-coded PDF, which is completely normalized or completely re-separated. And you're able to convert PDFs. Converts mean that you're able to convert these ISO-coded into another standard, for example, Crackhole or PSR standards. We do that without an ICC profiles. We do it with MX-based color management. MX means this is a standard from GMG, from us, and yes, we can guarantee a consistent color result, a stable separation, and we guarantee a maximum use of the color space. So the advantage of an MX-based color management is this. So in the middle of the screen, you see a color reference. This color reference is made in ISO-coded V2, and wherever you have the need to convert these ISO coded into PSO uncoded, and you can do it with a couple of software tools or with a couple of profiles. And if you have a look to the right side, there is an ICC conversion. On the left side, the image is converted with an MX conversion. And what we try is to receive the mood of an image. And if you have a look on the right side, you see that the ICC conversion is much more bluish, and you don't receive the mood of the original image. And in the MX conversion, yes, we try to receive as good as we can, or as good as the MX conversion can, or the output standard can. We try to receive this mood of the image. Another example is the gray balance in the middle. Also in the middle you have the color reference, also in ISO coded V2, and we converted it into a PSO uncoded V3. And I think you will see the same color shift on the right side. It's much more bluish, and on the left side we will, yes, you see that we are able to receive the mood of this gray balance as good as the PSO uncoded can. Okay. Yes, GMG color management makes the difference. So also an advantage is that black stays a black. So if you have the need to, for example, to switch only the black blade or the black cylinder, yes, we can guarantee with the MX profile that a black stays a black. So you then don't have a cyan or a magenta in the black after the color conversion. Yes, and you also can purify your process colors. So with an MX profile, you're able to unchange your process colors. For example, you have 100% yellow, and you want to purify this 100% yellow in your output standard. Then you're able to, yes, you purify these colors. And we also see paper as a color. So a direct substrate conversion with paper adaptation tool. So if you have the need to adapt your paper because your paper in the printing plant is a little bit more bluish, for example, or yellowish, you can measure this paper tint, and we are able to calculate a new profile which includes these paper adaptation or this paper tint, and then you're able to convert your profiles with this MX profile once more, and it's absolutely direct. It's a perfect conversion it's a perfect match to this paper. We support all international print standards, so when you install the ColorServer 5, you get a complete setup with around about 680 profiles which are included. There you have the possibility to use ISO standard or profiles from the ISO standard or from the Gracol or something else. Yes, and we have a conversion of spot colors to CMYK. For this conversion, we are using DB3. It's a format also from us, from GMG, and in this DB3 you can set up a complete table which spot color should be converted into which CMYK. So it's not profile driven. It could be a spot color database driven conversion. And we have, with ColorServer 5, we have an open API and the client-server architecture. With the open API, we are able to connect the ColorServer into third-party tools, for example, Dahlem Twist or Focus Switch. but you have to license these API. In a standard ColorServer 5 installation, the API license is not included. So if you want to test it or if you want to use it, you have to license these additional API. Client-server technology means that everybody who knows the ColorServer 4, ColorServer 4 is only installer, and you install your ColorServer on a client or on a server, and you have the need to use a remote desktop tool to get a connection to the server, and then you're able to administrate it. In ColorServer 5, you also have to install the server on a client machine, but then you are able to administrate it via a client, and this client could be installed on different machines, on different Windows and Mac clients. And then the client is connecting via HTTP to the server, grabs the license, and then you are able to administrate your server from wherever you want. Yes, how does GMG ColorServer work? It could be a normal hot folder processing, so you can take some PDFs, JPEGs, or TIFF files, and you put it into a hot folder or an input folder. The ColorServer will grab these files, and yes, it depends on your configuration. Then the ColorServer converts these files into complete different standards. Could be a gravure or offset standard, and also a flex or digital standard. ColorServer easy to use. I think the main advantage from ColorServer 5 to ColorServer 4 is the modular architecture. So in the past with ColorServer 4, in this example, you have 3 hot folders, and if you want to administrate all these 3 hot folders, you have to open the hot folder, you have to set up a new normalizing, for example. You have to do that in all 3 hot folders. In ColorServer 5, we are using so-called resources, and the hot folder is only, let's say, a container. And in this example, we set up 3 hot folders, all to ISO-coated v2. The second hot folder has additional PDF processing, which makes a PDF x1. And in the third hot folder, we have an additional ink optimizing setup. And yes, and now we want to change the normalizing, only the normalizing. So what can you do? You open the resource, the normalizing resource, you change the ISO-coated v2 into PSO-coated v3, save it, and all your hot folders are changed. I think, or we think that's its main advantage to ColorServer 4, because the administration of the hot folders is much more easy than in ColorServer 4. And you also can do it with the PDF templates or the conversion itself. But I will show it to you in the live session. Short overview about the client or the job manager. The screenshot which you will see here on the screen is the so-called client, the ColorServer client. And on the left side of the client, you have an overview about the processing. So you will see, is there or are there any files in the queue or in progress, or are they completed, processed? And yes, you also get an information how many files are processed with warnings or with errors. In the past, you don't have these information, and yes, in ColorServer 5 you have it, and you can directly go to this part of the client and have a look to that PDFs, and you can get all these informations. Why is the PDF or the image run into a warning? And then you are able to open the PDF and change anything and run it once more, calculate it once more. You also be able to do a manual processing. So if you have the need to do it because you have a lot of load in your ColorServer with a big production, there are hundreds of PDFs in a hot folder, but you have the need to calculate a PDF very fast because you need it. You have to send it out to a customer or someone else. You can do a manual job. So you're able to load a couple of files, one file or a couple of files into this manual job, and then you can increase the priority, for example, the maximum, set up the conversion or the normalization, and yeah, press OK. And depends on the priority, this PDF will overtake all other images or PDFs which are coming from a hot folder, and then you have your PDF. Okay. Here we get a short overview about the processing. This is a screenshot from a PDF hot folder. I will show it to you in the live session much more in detail, but to get a short overview, I think it's okay to have this screenshot. You have to set up a so-called subfolder or hot folder location, and you have to set up a so-called workflow. Yes, and you have the same possibilities here in the workflow as in a manual job. You can set up the normalization, the color processing, and the PDF processing. Yes, and then you're able to save this hot folder and yeah, put your PDFs into it. Then it will be processed normally. Yes, in ColorServer 5, you're also able to get complete detailed information about your processed files. So the guys who know ColorServer 4, yeah, that was a bit tricky to get some informations why there is a warning or which what does this warning means. And in ColorServer 5 you get a complete overview about the parameters of the job. So if you have it already in your job list, you can have a look into the normalization. For example, do I have set up a normalization or a color processing, and for example a job information. Okay, how was the are there any spot colors included or something else, and you get a complete log file, so you can have a look into these job informations or log files, and for example, what's going wrong in the job, or is everything okay, or yeah, some other stuff, some other informations. Okay, as I talked before, you have access from anywhere. So yeah, as I told you that we have a client-server architecture. So the GMG ColorServer is accessible at any time by multiple users. So in the standard ColorServer license, you're able to install the clients how often you want, but you are able to connect 5 times in parallel. So 5 users are able to have a look into the ColorServer or administrate the ColorServer in parallel from wherever they want. But they need to have access via HTTP or HTTPS to the server, because if you have installed the client and you want to run the client is connecting to the server and will grab the license. So if you don't have a license on your ColorServer, you can't administrate because you don't get a connection to the ColorServer. And on the other hand, ColorServer has an integrated load balancing. Load balancing means that not the server itself will do all the processing. There are some workers which you are install. So let's have a look here. So we have a failover solution. On the left side, you will see the clients. So you're able to administrate the ColorServer, which are these clients. And on the right side, we have these workers. So the ColorServer itself doesn't do anything. It only copies the informations and the images or the PDF files to these workers. And the worker will do all the conversions. The workers also can be installed on the same client or on the same machine at the ColorServer itself, or you can install the workers to different machines. These workers will then connect via HTTP to the ColorServer, grab the license, and yeah, then they are able to calculate. If you lose 2 or 3 workers, depends on your machine goes down or something else, then you're able to work on, because one of the worker could be installed on your client or directly on your client, and your external machines go down, wherever. The ColorServer works on, but yes, only with 1 or 2 workers. Yes, it depends on the license you have installed, and it depends on if you have installed the workers on the ColorServer. Okay, I have a question regarding the workers. How many workers are included in a standard license? 8 workers. So you are able to produce 8 files in parallel, and if you have the need to calculate more files in parallel, you can license a so-called worker package. And if you buy another worker package, there are another 8 workers included. Okay, it's a very simple system integration. So I talked before. We have an open API. Only for example, and Focus Switch has delivered the configurator. I think a couple of weeks ago. So if you want to use the ColorServer as a configurator in Switch, for example, you can download Switch. I think it's version 13 update 1. It's included there, and then you're able to this configurator in your Switch workflow. But to connect the ColorServer or this configurator, the ColorServer, you need the API, and the API is yes, I told you before, is another license. So you need the API license to connect. We also have a job ticket hot folder. A job ticket hot folder also needs a license. It's not included in the standard installation. But if you have the job ticket hot folder, you're able to set up an XML file, and with this XML file, you're able to convert all your PDF or image files. If you have the time, I can show you a short overview about this XML hot folder afterwards. And last but not least, we have so-called smart hot folder. For you guys, you know ColorProof. In ColorProof, we are able to set up a hot folder, and this hot folder can be included in a couple of workflows, and this is the same idea. So we set up a hot folder in the ColorServer, and then you are able to set up in this hot folder a couple of workflows. I will show it to you in the live session of the ColorServer, because then it's much more clear. Okay, yeah, the open API is working very easy. So you have an external application which connects to the ColorServer, and the ColorServer will do all these color management stuff, and yes, bring the PDF or the image back to the external applications. And if it's set up fine or correctly, you are also able to collect all the log informations from these API. So we don't push only the PDFs or the files back to these applications. So if you have the need to grab any additional information, for example, some log files, is there an error or something else, then you're able to grab these informations and show it in this external application. Yeah, the job ticket hot folder. You have, for example, also an external application which gives you an XML job ticket, and then you are able to set up these job ticket hot folder with these XML, and there you are very flexible to set up a hot folder. You don't have the need to set up a couple of hot folders, and if you have the possibility to get these XML from another application, from an external application, you can grab these XML, and then, for example, you only need one XML or one job ticket hot folder. And the smart hot folder, for example, is driven by a naming filter. So if you have a couple of PDFs which have a clear naming, then you are able to grab these part of the name, and the workflow will react, will grab this part of the name, and then you are able to, yes, you calculate your files a little bit different. But I think it's much more clearer when we go to the live demo. Yeah, and that was the presentation. So I think it's the time to go into the ColorServer and show you some some administration stuff in the ColorServer. Let's have a look to the questions. Are workers related to CPU or cores? Yes and no. If you have, for example, 8 CPUs for all image or PDF which would be calculated, we need 1 CPU. Yes. You also can be, for example, in a virtual environment, you can overdrive your machine. For example, you have 8 real CPUs and a couple of additional virtual CPUs. Yes, we take these CPUs, but yes, it depends on your virtual machine, on the setting on your virtual machine. And there was an additional question to migrate, I think, to can we export hot folders from 4.11, import to CS5, or do we recreate all hot folders? No, you do not have the need to recreate. When we published the official version of ColorServer 5, we also published a so-called migration tool. So if you have ColorServer 4.10 or 4.11, you are able to migrate all your hot folders and your settings into ColorServer 5. You only have to run this migration tool, and then you are able to migrate all these informations into ColorServer 5. Do we have a tool like for ColorProof to generate the job tickets sample files? Not at that moment. So we are in discussion with the product management and the support to create such a job ticket tool. Yes, but not at the moment. We don't have this job ticket creator at the moment. Okay, let's start the live session. ColorServer 5, so I have to switch the tool. In the session this morning, there was a question: is it possible to run the ColorServer 5 in a virtual environment? Yes, it is possible. You see that I'm using VMware Fusion, but yeah, be aware of the dongle. And when you use a virtual environment, then you have to use a USB over network to present your USB dongle that gives you the license. Okay, to administrate the ColorServer, you need 2 tools. The first tool you have seen in the presentation is the so-called GMG ColorServer client. And the second tool is the so-called hot folder service configuration. The hot folder service configuration is a small tool which gives you the possibility to set up a so-called main hot folder. If you install the ColorServer 5 the first time, this default location will be installed too. So this default will shows you will install a path on C double point hot folders, and this hot folder location is necessary to set up a hot folder itself. So you will see it. I think it would be a bit clearer when I set up a hot folder, and then you are able to see what this hot folder location means. Let's start with the job overview. You saw in the presentation that you here are able to see all your processing, how many files are in the queue or in process, and in this menu bar here on the top, you also see, for example, a monitoring. In the monitoring, you are able to see how many hot folders are set up, for example, and which folders are running, inactive, or invalid. What is the meaning? I've set up, for example, a job ticket hot folder, and you see it's running. So when a hot folder is running, you can drag some files into it, and the hot folder will calculate all the images, all the PDFs, and yeah, put it out to your output folder. But if you have the need, for example, to administrate this hot folder, you can stop it. So no file will be run through the hot folder, and it switched to inactive, and then you're able to configure anything. For example, you switch the normalizing or switch the conversion. And if you have set up a hot folder which is not quite finished, so you have, for example, forgotten to set up an input folder, the hot folder will be run into an invalid. I will show it to you when I import a hot folder. In the hot folder tab, you will see a part of the image hot folders. So all image hot folders will be listed here, and all PDF hot folders will be listed here. So be aware, if you want to set up a PDF hot folder or a new PDF hot folder, you have to highlight this PDF hot folder and then press new. Then you have a PDF hot folder, and if you want to set up an image hot folder, you have to highlight the image hot folder, press new, and then you have it's German language. Then you have an image hot folder. Sorry for that. Okay. As I said before, a hot folder is only a container. So a hot folder itself doesn't do anything. You have to set up all these resources, and the resource could be, for example, a normalizing. In a normalizing, you're able to normalize your image or your PDF into a target color space. Target color space, you can choose all the ICC profiles you will see here in the drop-down menu, and you have to set up inputs color space. So if you have the need to normalize a PDF, for example, with RGB and CMYK images included, you can set up it here. You give this resource the information or set up, okay, for example, use attached ICC profile, or use the following ICC profile. For example, if you are quite sure that the images are, for example, always ECE RGB, then you can choose it here. Or you know that your customer uses a couple of ICC profiles, for example, ECE RGB, sRGB, or Adobe RGB, then you can choose it here, use attached ICC profile, and the ColorServer will grab these ICC information and will convert the image with this input color space. Okay. scroll down a bit. In this normalization, then you have to set up the ICC replacement rule. As I told you before, we normally we use the so-called MX profiles or the MX technology in the ColorServer. So all the settings you choose in the target color space or input color space are ICC profiles, and these ICC profiles are only a filter. So you see it here. I have chosen the ICC replacement rule, all GMG conversion profiles, and I set up as input profile an HCE RGB and as an output an ISO-coded V2. And for the conversion, the ColorServer will take this MX profile. So you don't convert the image via this ICC. The ColorServer will react on these like a filter and convert it via MX profile. Okay. Don't save. The next resource, for example, is a conversion resource. In a conversion resource, I think I have to mute some. I think I have to mute someone because I heard something. Okay, everyone is muted. Okay, sorry for that. In a conversion, yes, you also can set up a conversion resource, but not in detail as in a normalization. If you see it in the resource, I will open it again. In the normalization, you're able to react to the attached ICC profile, but not in a conversion. In a conversion, for example, you can set up only a CMYK conversion. You took, for example, this icon, this MX4 icon, and took it to the RGB line. Then you have to set up, okay, my input color space, for example, is an RGB, my output is for example, an CMYK, and then you are able to select one of these profiles. If you select one of these profiles, for example, this one, then the ColorServer takes Adobe RGB as the source. So don't react on the attached profile. It's clear that the input is Adobe RGB, for example. And in another step, for CMYK, in this case, we do a conversion from PSO uncoated to PSO uncoated V3. So yeah, this doesn't make sense because we convert the Adobe RGB to ISO-coated, and in another step, we convert from PSO uncoded to PSO uncoded. But this is the possibility in the conversion to set up a conversion resource, for example, and also the spot colors. You can track it here, and then you are able to select some informations. What should happen with the spot colors? Shall we convert it to CMYK values, or shall we use any spot color DB3? Okay, then go back to the resources, for example, the PDF processing. In the PDF processing, if you install the ColorServer 5, you got these two PDF processing templates: use flattening or no flattening. So if you open one of these PDF resources, and you will see that you are able to activate or deactivate the flattening. So if you activate or deactivate, it depends on your PDF file. So we don't pre-flight a PDF, and we don't know if there are transparencies included in the PDF. So if you want to flatten a PDF, or if you have the need to flatten a PDF, you have to activate this flattening setting. And scroll down a little bit, then you are able to make some general settings. For example, image compression method, keep existing. something else, image resampling, or a 3D sharpness, and you're also able to set up an output intent. So if you have the need to convert the PDF into a PDF standard, PDFX standard, then you are able to select, for example, PDFX3. You can choose an output intent. Let's say, okay, Euroscale uncoded, and then you are able to save this resource as a new resource. Okay. The same in image processing. We install 3 standard image processing templates, and if we double-click one of these, then you're able to set up an output format. So if you want to convert all your JPEGs you drop into the hot folder, you can leave it as it is, or you can convert it into a TIFF, for example. In an image processing, you also are able to resample the image or to sharpen the image. Okay. Yes, and the next one, for example, is the ICC replacement rule we see before in the normalization here. So if you have the need to set up your own ICC replacement rules, wherever, because you have a customer ICC profile or a customer MX profile, then you are able to go into this MX profile. You can import your custom MX profile or your custom ICC profile, and via the ICC replacement rule, then you are able to select these profiles, and you can set up your own ICC replacement rules. So let's have a look into the chat. We get a question: can we do a conversion from CMYK to RGB, ISO coded to ECE RGB? So let's go back to the conversion. So this one, and let's drag one of these MX profile icons here into the CMYK. And then you're able to select an RGB as an output, and yes, then you are able to convert, for example, an ISO-coded V2 into back to an Adobe RGB, for example. So yes, you have the possibility to do that. Okay. If you have set up all your resources, then you are able to set up a hot folder. Let's import one yes, I prepared some hot folders before the session, and I think these 4 hot folders, so the image and these 3 PDF hot folders, will go online in the next couple of days, also on our homepage. So they are available on the homepage as a so-called quick start guide. So you can import these hot folders. And you can have a look into the hot folders and get an idea how they work. Be aware, when you import the hot folders, you get a couple of error messages. Yes, I will show you why these error messages depends on. At first, I will go back to the monitoring. And you will see, this was I told you before, a couple of minutes before, if you don't finish this hot folder setup, you get this small icon in front of the name of the hot folder, and the hot folder will run into an invalid. So it's not able to run this hot folder. You can't start it because it's invalid. You only can stop it. So let's go back to the hot folder and have a look what's going wrong. For all hot folders, you can set up so-called general information. It's only the priority. So you can set up, as default, we select priority number 5, but if you have the need, you can increase the priority up to 10. I told you before that you have to, for example, need this service, hot folder service configurator. And you see that I have set up a so-called hot folder location. It's named default. And now if you try to select this hot folder location here in the input folder, you can't. Because at first you have to select a so-called target computer. The target computer is this computer where your hot folder location service is installed. So you have to select this target computer. In my example here, it's the same computer, it's my machine. And then you are able to select the hot folder location. And you see, if I select the hot folder location, one of these arrows are gone. Okay. Then you have set up a hot folder location here, and the path of this hot folder location is C hot folders. In a second step, then you can define a so-called subfolder. In this example, it's a PDF Adobe RGB to isocoded or isocoded v2 to isocoded v2 and / input. So when I go to my file system, you will see on my local hard drive a folder, hot folder, and in this hot folder you get this folder. It's the PDF Adobe RGB isocoded v2, and in this folder you get the input. Okay. Yes, then you're able to define the folder depth. So yes, you can set it to unlimited. So we are searching in an unlimited subfolder hierarchy where we can find a PDF or an image which we have to calculate. Then let's go on to the workflows. And now in the workflow part of the hot folder, you will see here this color processing. And in the color processing, then you are able to select the resource you set up before. For example, this Adobe RGB to isocoded, or you can select another one. If you don't find a resource you want to choose, you can, for example, press this pen, or you want to change this normalization. You don't want to convert to isocoded. You want to convert to PSO uncoded, for example. Then you are able to click this pen. Your resource, your normalization opens, and then you are able to switch, for example, the target color space into another profile, for example, either newspaper or PSO. We can also search for it, PSO. Let's take where the PSO uncoded. I didn't find it. Let's take this one. And then you are able to save and close. If you do that, you get an information. Okay, your hot folder is using this resource, and then you have the choice. Do you want to save it or save as a new? If I save it as a new one, then I can give it a new name, for example, v2, and say OK. Go back to the resource, for example, to the normalization, and you will see here that we have a new resource. It's called v2. Let's go, and yeah. And you also be able to select this normalization v2 also in your hot folder. Okay. One of the questions in the morning session today was, are we able to select the vector elements, and is it possible to convert the images in another way as the vector elements? Yes, you are able, because this is this part of the workflow. So if you want to normalize or color process the images and vectors with the same resource, you can use the same. Or if you want to convert or normalize your vectors in a different way, you can choose use different, and then you see that you are able to select another resource for the normalization, for example. You only go into the drop-down menu, and then you normalize your image files to ISO-coded, and your normalization could be, for example, normalized to PSO-coded v3, wherever. Okay, go back to use the same. Scroll down a bit. Okay, then you have selected or choose an input folder here in the input folder area, and you also have to select an output. So you see here that you have a drop-down menu in front of the subfolder, and you also can choose, for example, the default. It's our C hot folder, and you see we lose one of these error messages. And scroll down once more. Then you have here the area of the cleanup and backup. If you want to delete the input files, then the PDF you pushed into the input folder will be deleted. Or you can choose no cleanup, then the PDF or the image file will stay in the input folder. You also can move this into a backup folder. Yes, to have the possibility to open it again and can have a look. Okay, this is my PDF before ColorServer, and this is my PDF after ColorServer. And are there anything wrong, or you can compare these two PDFs. If you choose delete job from job list, for example, then all your files which are will be shown in this job area, in this history area, so-called history area, will be deleted directly. So if you choose this, you don't have the possibility to go into a job information, because your job is deleted. I think that's clear. Okay, and then you're able to set up some information for jobs with warnings. You can move these files into different folders, because then you have the possibility to have a look in these PDFs, and yeah, you can change anything. The same with the errors. In the error part, you're also able to select a target folder. In my example here, it's a so-called error folder. So all the files which creates an error will be pushed into an error folder. And last but not least, a report. You also can choose. You have to choose this hot folder location, and you see all the error messages are gone. So the hot folder is set up correctly. Additional informations are also for the guys who use ColorServer 4. Now we are able to create reports, depends on what's happened. For example, we create a report only on errors, because if you have a file which is successfully proceeded, you don't need a report. You only need the reports when you get a warning, an error, or error and warning. So I think it's one of the good developments because we get these feature requests very often. Because in the old one, in the old ColorServer, it was only possible to create a report or do not create a report. Okay, so we set up a PDF hot folder, and if I save and close it, you will see that this hot folder switched from invalid into running. And yes, then you're able to push some PDFs through these hot folders. Go back to the hot folder. An image hot folder is quite the same. So when I import an image hot folder, for example, this one, you got the same error messages. It depends on the shared location, but you see that image hot folder is not too different to a PDF hot folder. One of the the biggest differences are that you can't select a vector normalizing, because in the image normally you don't have some vectors. So you have only to set up a color processing, and you don't select the PDF processing, you select the so-called image processing. Okay, but the other parts of the hot folder are quite the same. Okay. Yes, let's have a look into the chat. What questions do we have? Can I change the path of default hot folder during installation? If you set up a hot folder, and is it the meaning if you install a ColorServer and then you want to change the hot folder, the hot folder location. If you have the need to change this default, for example, then you're able to, yes. You can change these hot folder locations with, for example, this icon here, and you can select another hot folder or different hot folder, for example, this one, and then your hot folder location is set to these folder. You're also able to duplicate this hot folder location. So yes, if you want to preserve this default hot folder, you are able to duplicate. You are able to duplicate everything, or to export or import everything in ColorServer 5. So let's go back to the resource. For example, if you have the need to export a normalization, or you have you have the need to export a hot folder. For example, you have a support call, and they told you, please export the hot folder. Yes, then you are able to export it via this export button, and you get a zip file, and then you can send this zip file to the support, and they can import the zip file. And in this zip file, all the needed resources are included. So if you set up this PDF hot folder and you export the PDF hot folder, and the support is will import the hot folder, all the linked resources will be imported also. Okay, then we have another question. Can workers be installed on other machines? Yes. Go back to the workers you see in the presentation. So in my environment, all the workers are installed on this client, on this machine. But yes, if you run the installer, you have the possibility to enable the worker installation. So you only install, for example, the hot folder location, the ColorServer itself, and on another machine you can run the installer once more, and then you are only install the workers. Afterwards, you have to connect the worker configurator via the worker configurator, these workers to the server, and it works via HTTP or HTTPS. It depends on your network. And let's have a look to one of these. Do you also update the Smart Profiler utility, for example? Yes. You will see the Smart Profiler, for example, here in the client. But be aware, at the moment it is a beta version, so you only be able to see these Smart Profiler tab if you have a Smart Profiler license. If you don't have this license, you don't see this tab. The Smart Profiler at the moment is in a beta version, so we are talking to a couple of customers which will test the Smart Profiler, and I think in one of the next ColorServer version it will be official. Is there an environment backup? Yes, naturally we have an environment backup. So when we go to the applications, for example, here in the GMG, run the ColorServer configuration. There's no backup. Oh, they have changed the location. Sorry for that. Let's have a look. Then it must be in the, wow. Oh, let's have a look. Hot folder service configuration. This is this one. Oh, that's a good question. Where is the backup? Okay. Okay, let's look. The ColorServer configuration, for example, you will find here the license. So if you have the need to update the license, you do it via the ColorServer configuration. But yes, it's a good question. Where is the backup? Sorry for that. For your information, if I can't answer your question, I will export the chat afterwards, and we'll talk to the product management or to the development, and we'll send you an email. And hopefully we can answer all your questions. Okay, and this is one question, where the environment backup? Okay, sorry for that. Is it down here? Ah, okay, that's cool. Oh, I found it. In the server configuration, it's a little bit tricky to find. If you scroll down, there you have the backup and restore. And yeah, then you can do a backup. It's a bit different to the ColorServer 4 because now it's a so-called back file. I think in ColorServer 4 it was a so-called env file. So yeah, in 5 it's a back file. But I think one of the advantages of ColorServer 5 is this automatic backup. So if you want, you are able to select this automatic backup, and you can do, for example, every Saturday start at 3 AM, do one backup. So you don't have the need to I have to make a environment backup once more because the last one was 2 or 3 months ago. You can set up this automatic backup, and then you you're very sure that you have the latest one. The maximum amount of the backup means that if you choose one, this backup will be overwritten. So every Saturday, this backup will be overwritten with the actual backup. And you can increase this maximum, for example, to 5, and then you have the backup from 5 weeks ago. Okay. No, I don't want to change. Okay. Yeah, sorry for that I couldn't answer all your questions because I think we have 4:30, and I think we will stop the session now. Yeah, once more, I will export your questions from the chat, and we'll talk to the product management and to the development and answer all your questions afterwards. Okay, then let's say thank you for joining the ColorServer 5 session, and yeah, at least I have to show you one additional information. Just a second, I have to find the promotion. There we go. Yes, if you have additional questions to ColorServer 5, or you want to install it, or you want to test it, don't hesitate to contact the sales. To other technical questions, you can contact our support team, or for additional trainings or knowledge, yes, don't hesitate to go in touch with the Academy. Our next training, sorry for that. Our next training will be on 18th of July, and it is multicolor separation with GMG Color plugin for Photoshop. And I think it's a good additional web session, because you're also able to choose all the MX4 profiles which you are using in the color server. You're able to use all these MX profiles also in the color plugin for Photoshop. So if you don't have the need to set up a complete server with a plugin, you're able to do all these color conversions also in Photoshop. Okay, yes, thank you again for joining the session, and yeah, have a nice evening. Bye bye.